we will record this for y'all to be able to study against. So this is a cat, obviously, or at least it used to be. I wonder what its name was.
Peter.
Peter? Alrighty. So external anatomy first, right? What do you call the flap on the kitty's ear? The ear. We're doing well. What do you call the flap on the kitty's ear?
Is it called an ear or is it called a
Starts with a P.
article? I need the pen.
It's called the pinea. There you go. Pineal gland. There you go. What do you call the forearm part of the cat's leg? What?
The muscle or
Nope. This part of the cat's leg out here.
forearm extend?
That would be a muscle that's there. Those are muscles. Those are muscles. Okay, so did they not have shank on there? They didn't have shank on there. Okay, well then I won't ask that. Let's look at that started off really badly. Let's look at muscles then. On the upper arm up here, we have the muscle that flexes the leg, pulls the leg up. What's this muscle here? No. Biceps. And there's two biceps. How do you know that it's this one and not the one in the back leg? Biceps what? No, that's the back one. Back one what? The biceps what is up here? Biceps brachii. Biceps brachii is up here, and then this muscle behind the forearm. I'm sorry, behind the upper arm.
There's no such thing as biceps brachii. There's such thing as triceps brachii.
No, but this is definitely the biceps brachii, and this is the triceps brachii.
There's no such thing.
This? No.
It said all that muscle in that area was formed.
It didn't have bicep brachii. I only had bicep femoris.
So
Number 15 and number 18.
triceps brachii and well, that is definitely the biceps brachii that I pointed to you, but for some reason they didn't call it out. The front of the arm, just like the front of your arm, is a bicep brachii, and the back is the tricep brachii. They're called the same thing on you as they are on the cat. The muscles on the top back area that are, this particular specimen was not well isolated, but this triangular shaped muscle here. What do we call this? The trapezius group, yeah. I'll just take trapezius is fine. There's a whole cluster of trapezius muscles right here. It's the triangle formed from the base of the neck to the armpit, and then from the armpit to the middle of the back. This area right here is the trapezius. And it's called trapezius because it's a trapezoid shape. If I keep drawing the line, it's a trapezoid. So this is the trapezius group. And then the long stripe of muscle. Oh, here you go. Long stripe of muscle that comes from the middle of the back and wraps down to the abdomen. There's an edge of it here. There's another edge of it here. What do you call that stripe of muscle? Latissimus dorsi. Good. The the muscles of the upper hip up here. What's this? I heard somebody else say it.
Oh,
The gluteus maximus, okay? And then inside the thigh area, there is the muscle on the front of the thigh that wraps around to the inside. What's this muscle on the front of the thigh that wraps to the inside? The what? No. Sagittarius. Starts in the front of the thigh and then wraps to the inside. And then the large chunk of muscle here on the back is the what?
Semi-tendon.
Nope, that's the muscle that flexes the leg. The muscle that flexes the arm is the biceps brachii. The muscle that flexes the leg, biceps femoralis. Good.
So the bicep on the back leg is on the back.
Yeah, it's always the one that makes the leg bend. So your biceps up here is what makes your leg bend. Your biceps femoris is what makes the leg bend this way. So it's always the one that flexes the leg or the arm to make the next joint bend. The triceps is always the one that straightens it out. Okay. And let's see, what other ones might I ask? There's the triceps, there's the lats. Oh, you had to dissect off part of the face to get to this lump of muscle up here. What's this one? The masseter. Yep, it's what closes the jaw. The temporalis muscle is on the very top of the head. This particular specimen, they didn't get to it. The temporalis is on the very top. I probably won't ask you the temporalis. I'll keep it to the ones we've pointed out. The two on the forearm, the two on the back, the two in the thigh. Oh no, and we'll do this guy too. The back of the calf. We would say it's your calf muscle. What's the proper name for it? Gastrocnemius. The gastrocnemius. Okay. The semitendinosus is is a smaller supporting muscle there. So latissimus dorsi, gluteus maximus, biceps femoralis, sagittarius, gastrocnemius, biceps and triceps, brachii, masseter, trap. Those are the ones that I will probably ask on the exams. The sagittarius is the front of the thigh that wraps around the inside. There are others that you had to identify, but I think that'll do it for what I will quiz you on muscle-wise. Okay? Now, all right. As we look inside the kitty, the first thing that you're greeted with is this spiral of tissue. What is that spiral there?
Large intestine.
Small intestine. Yes, that's the small intestine. And then the other thing that you're greeted with right away is this grayish mass here. What's this? The liver. If you lift up the right lobe of the liver, in between the medial and the right lobe of the liver is a little greenish sac. What is that?
Gallbladder.
It's the gallbladder, right. And then if I lift up the left lobe of the liver, I find a large, in this case somewhat deflated, but a large muscular sac. What is this?
Stomach.
That's the stomach. And then where the stomach turns in to the small intestine, there is another organ in the first fold there. Ooh, this is just connective tissue. Does anybody remember what the connective tissue is called? No. Mesentery, good. And then, hold on. Now, where the small intestine makes its first turn, I think I led a couple people astray on this, so I need to fix it. Where the small intestine makes its first turn, there is a smallish ribbon of gray tissue laying inside the first curvature of the small intestine. What is that? That is the pancreas. That's the part of the critter of people that goes bad if you've got diabetes. It's a digestive gland, and it lies inside the first curvature of the small intestine. Okay, so it's right there. There's something that I told one group and I was wrong. There's another organ that lies behind the stomach, and it's this much larger brown piece of tissue here. What's this? That's the spleen. Okay, so if yours was the group that I told that incorrectly to, I'm sorry. This is the spleen. It's the brown organ that lays right underneath the stomach. Right underneath the stomach, brown thing, spleen. And it's only on the left side of the cat. It doesn't have a mirror. Okay? Alrighty. Now, if you lift the intestines out of the way.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. If you lift the intestines out of the way, you find, can you see this okay? Yeah, you can. Okay. You find underneath two large round ovoid sorts of organs. What are these two ovoid organs here?
Ovaries.
Neither adrenal glands nor ovaries. These are kidneys. Kidney 1 and kidney 2. Okay? We'll deal with the vascularization here in a minute. I heard Ethan say adrenal gland. You can find the adrenal glands if you go to the very top of the kidney. They are, oh, this one's kind of buried in some fat back there. Let me see if I can get to this guy better. It's a little white disc that kind of floats on top of the kidney. I won't ask you to identify them, but they are back there. All of your cats were female. So down in here, the large intestine was cut so that we could lift the intestinal mass aside and see. But down in there is an organ that then branches, and here's one branch and here's the other branch. What's the organ that branches there? Those are uterine horns, yes. The uterus itself is bifurcated. There's two uteruses essentially. The human uterus is bifurcated too, but the sides of it are so short that a baby doesn't land in one of the sides to grow in. But in a cat, they're going to have multiple fetuses, multiple embryos growing at one time, and there will be some embryos that wind up growing in here and some embryos that will wind up growing in here. So this little tiny muscular tube will actually swell to get very, very, very large when the cat is pregnant. So left and right horns of the uterus. At the top of the left and right horns of the uterus are these two structures. What are those? Those are ovaries. Okay. Now, this one was cut, let's see, right here. Let me see if I can get to it nicely. There is a little beige tube that I am underneath here. There you go. Little beige tube that I'm underneath here. And that tube runs from the kidney down to the bladder. What is that tube? It's a ureter, not a urethra. The urethra goes from the bladder to the outside. We didn't dissect down to find the urethra on this cat. But the ureter goes from the kidney to the urinary bladder. This is the urinary bladder. There are two ureters. This is the other one, but it was cut as the people were working on it. So the two ureters come down pretty much straight down into the bladder. The two horns of the ovaries come up from inside and then wrap around to go back to the back of the body. So this like, I don't know, flowering sort of structure that you wind up with down there. Okay. Now, we will talk a little bit about the the circulatory system at this view, and then we'll go up and talk about it again at another view. So right here, I have this this blue tube. What is the large blue vein that runs down through the body? The vena cava. Good. What is the parallel large artery that runs down through the body? The aorta. Good. Cava, C-A-V-A. Okay. And then here, up next to the kidneys, you can find this one's got some connective tissue covering it up. But if I tease away the connective tissue,
How can you tell the difference between vena cava and aorta?
the venous system has been injected blue, and the arterial system has been injected red. So if I continue to tease this stuff away, there's the adrenal gland way back there. Hello, little adrenal gland. You can't see him, but he's back there. If I tease this connective tissue away, you will see a vein going into the kidney. What do we name that vein going into the kidney? Well, if it's a vein, it's a vein. So the renal vein, yeah? And then before your practical tomorrow, I will pull the connective tissue off of this so you can see the artery as well that goes into the kidney. But just like the renal vein goes into the kidney, the artery that goes into the kidney is just the renal artery. Okay? So vena cava, aorta, renal artery and vein goes into the kidney. Now we're going to go up into the top of the kidney.
And what goes into that thing? Renal.
Renal, the word renal just means associated with the kidney. So the renal artery and the renal vein are the artery and vein that go into the kidneys. Now up here, I have several lobes of this brown organ. I have 1, 2, 3 lobes on one side, and I have 1, 2, 3 lobes on the other. What are these lobes of? Those are lungs. Good. What do you call this sheet of muscle that divides the abdominal cavity from the thoracic cavity? That's the diaphragm. Okay. Now if I look here, what is this round organ in the middle? That's the heart. This group did not dissect the heart out. I will pull off this membrane around the outside before tomorrow. There are 2 chambers at the top of the heart. What are those 2 chambers at the top called? No.
Atrium.
Atriums. Yeah, the atrium. So you'll have a left and a right atria. Now remember, it's the cat's left and right, not your left and right looking at it. So you got to picture, if you have to, like, in your mind, lay down on a dissection tray, this is the right? So right atria, left atria. And then underneath the right and the left, what? Ventricles. Okay. And then there's some connective tissue up here that I need to pull off. And the connective tissue is hiding the major blood vessels up here. But what's the name? Again, we have the large blue vein, the vena cava that comes in and drains up here. You'll see the vena cava. And then there is a loop of artery tissue. What do you call the loop of artery tissue up at the top up here that I need to expose before tomorrow? What?
Sinus. Thyroid.
It's just the aortic arch. It's the arch, the loop of arterial tissue up there. So you'll see the aortic arch. In the kitty, in the neck, I didn't have you do much. I'm not going to hold you to the jugular and the carotid, although in this one it's really, really clear. They're right there. There's the jugular and the carotid. But I didn't have you draw that view. So But the jugular vein and the carotid artery are in the neck right there. What do you call this rigid tube that the air travels through? Trachea. And then I can find the esophagus, but it's going to take some doing. The esophagus is at the top of the stomach. So if you pull the liver really hard back, you can see the tube down there, but you can't see it anywhere well enough for me to point to it and have you go on the quiz on that. Nah. I probably will also not hold you to the salivary glands and things like that. I didn't have you dissect those out. I think we're probably good with those structures. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, let me get ready for the bird. Alrighty, so in 10 minutes or less, the bird. The only muscles I asked you to know on the bird were the flight muscles. And so what is the large chest muscle here that I'm about to cut through? Pectoralis major. Good. And then as I cut along where the pectoralis major meets the chest bone, what is this ridge of bone that I'm using to guide my scalpel? The keel. Good job. Why do birds have a keel? You don't have a keel. What is it about flight that makes them have to have a keel?
It's like, wait, isn't it air capacity? The air, like,
Air capacity, you don't breathe in and out.
No, it doesn't have to do with their breathing. No, not balance either. What muscle am I? I'm cutting a big muscle off of this, right? Why does the bird have to have such ridiculously large muscles? To power the wings, right? Powered flight requires a lot of energy and a lot of muscular effort. So the powered flight requires, there it is, requires very large muscles, and then those muscles have to be anchored to something in order to be any good. So the powered flight requires large chest muscles. Large chest muscles then requires a bone to attach them to. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut. There you go. I laid the pectoralis major aside on this side. I'm going to go do this on the other side as well. And when I cut down just a little bit, there's a layer of connective tissue that joins the pectoralis major to the muscle underneath it. What's the name of that muscle underneath the pectoralis major? Pectoralis minor. Good. So you can't see the pectoralis major when you are looking at the outside of the bird. You've got to cut away the pectoralis major to see it. Just out of curiosity, people who eat chicken, if you've ever helped your mom like prepare chicken, the pectoralis major is what we would call the breast meat, right? That's what this is. What do you call that little smaller muscle underneath that I just exposed? What part of the chicken is that? This is a chicken tender. If you buy chicken tenders in Costco in the purple bag, they're all individually frozen. That's these guys. That's the pectoralis minor. So next time your mom buys chicken tenders, say, hey, we're going to have pectoralis minors tonight for dinner. So this is the pectoralis minor, this little layer of muscle right here. Are you seeing that okay? Yes, you are. So this little layer of muscle right here is the pectoralis minor. I'll go ahead and cut him off of the keel as well. You want steak tonight? Oh. All this chicken, I want steak. Okay, so pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, and then that leaves us the big bone here we called this the keel. What bone is underneath the keel, the flat part?
Sternum.
The sternum. Good. And then the bones that come out from the sternum and wrap the thoracic cavity. They're called the same thing in mammals. What are those bones called?
Ribs.
Ribs. Good. Not cribs. Ribs. Yes. Okay, I'm going to carefully remove the keel and the sternum and try not to destroy the air sacs. So it'll be just a second here.
Oh, do we have to know where the air sac is?
You will, yes. So I'm going to try to not destroy them as I go. Several of you guys, when you did this step, just hamburgered the air sacs. You just used your fingers? Is that what I heard you say?
You just ripped them.
Well, that might have been why the air sacs became unrecognizable. Pause the video while this is going on. You don't need to record this part. Okay, here we go. So, briefly the bird. There is a sac right here of a very thin muscular sac that I popped into accidentally when I was taking the skin off the neck. What's the thin little muscular sac right at the top of the thoracic cavity?
Air sac.
No. It's part of the digestive system.
Stomach.
No. Very thin muscular sac. It's called the crop.
Oh, God.
Here's the top of the wall of the crop. It should be joined together like this, but when I was skinning it, it tore. So this is the crop. This is the first stage of grinding stuff up if you're a bird. They don't have teeth, so they can't chew. So they swallow things whole, and then in here, they usually swallow little pieces of sand and rock, and this muscle grinds the food into smaller pieces. So this is the crop. Then if I pull this muscular area aside, right here there is a white tube. Oh, I can't see very well. Right there's a white tube. What's this thick white tube? No. Trachea. Yep. Oh, here it is again. Here's the trachea again.
It's like a worm.
That's the trachea. Okay. And then the flat muscular tube that lies underneath it, what's that? That's the esophagus. Esophagus and trachea. Okay. What's this brown organ sitting right on top saying hi to you? Yes, that's the liver. And just like in other animals, if I pull aside
Stomach.
the two lobes of the liver here, I should find what little bag?
Gallbladder.
The gallbladder. Okay. So I'm going to pull him up. Oh, I'm going to accidentally break it. If I pull him up, sorry guys, I know I'm running out of time. There's the gallbladder right here. Okay. Then piece of liver.
Oh,
What's this organ here?
heart.
The heart. Now, underneath, of course, there's intestines and all that stuff. That's not very interesting. Underneath the heart, there's lungs, but what's unique about the lungs of the bird?
They're circular.
They're circular. So I will pull the stomach and intestines out of the way, and tomorrow you'll be able to see the air sacs and that the lungs are circular. But there you go. Those are the important parts of the bird. God bless you. Have a good day.